The movie opens with the narration of a woman. She's a very attractive woman named Alice. Alice starts to talk about her wonderful yet stressful life so far. At one point, she begins to discuss her birth. Alice's father was a huge director named John Kinney. He used to make lots of documentaries and movies in his own style, which the public just loved. When Alice was born, there weren't any phones or social media activities to connect with one another. As a result, her father learned of her birth 2 days later via telegram, which just happened to be written in Greek. Alice then continues to explain more about her life. She explains about her father's background, as well as her own. Alice continues that when she was born in the summer of 1977, John was away on a Greek island named Mykonos for a grand filmmaking project. Because of this, he got the news of her birth 2 days later. When the Greek actor with him translated Alice's birth letter, he jumped with joy and made sure everyone around him had a great time. John made champagne run through the whole island of Mykonos, which shows us just how much he loves Alice. At first, John used to make personal films and documentaries, where he made love seem like the ultimate pain. He even won several Oscars because of his work. In the long run, his work brought him even more respect, joy, and success with Lola, which soon went on to become his most successful film. The results of John's massive success enabled him to buy a grand house and car. The house then became Alice's favorite place on earth. Even though John wasn't very expressive, he made sure Alice's birthday was celebrated in the most extravagant way possible. She was the light of his life, and he made sure she knew just how much he loved her. Alice further says that her father was a womanizer, who had married several women and romanced several more. He wasn't one to settle down. He had lots of affairs with numerous women, but none of them ever seemed to work out. He lost all the women as a result of his habits and work. They all used to leave him within a short period of time, but John knew the reason behind it. He was always aware that he was the one who couldn't keep a relationship going for long. This was all until John met Lillian, Alice's mother. John loved her, and she was his last wife. Lillian was just a 22-year-old girl, and 26 years younger than John when she married him. She was a beautiful girl, who gave birth to Alice soon after their wedding. Their love, however, did not last. Because of John's habit, just after Alice's 4th birthday, he divorced Lillian. This heartbreak led John to create several more movies that won him great accolades. Unfortunately for Lillian, John made sure his story was heard by the entire world, and he won even more awards because of this. But during all this, he always told Alice that she was the reason he could ever reach such great heights. Going back to the present day, Alice is in the bathroom crying, because she is going through a really tough separation from her husband. It has now taken over 5 months, and Alice can't seem to handle it anymore. It's also her 40th birthday, which makes it all the more difficult for her. As she's sobbing in the bathroom, her daughters knock on the door and hug her tightly. They wish her a very happy birthday, and the three celebrate together. Both girls surprise her with their handmade birthday cards. Alice pretends to be really happy and thanks them. Finally, it's time to drop the children off at school, so the three get in the car. Isabel, Alice's elder daughter, seems very nervous about the new school and the new environment. Alice reassures her, saying everything will be okay and that they'll get back to normal soon. Isabel nods silently and hopes that she gets along with the kids at school. Back home, Alice has planned to start her own home decoration business. She wants to stand on her own 2 feet and start a business as a designer. She's busy writing about herself on a website, and that's when she feels like a total loser. She's extremely lonely, has no prospects, and thinks that she can't change her life for the better. Just then, she gets a call from the father of her kids, Austin. He wishes her a happy 40th birthday, and it seems that the two still have a good relationship. She tells him about her job interview, and she also asks him if he has any updates regarding his potential transfer from his New York office branch to California. Alice tells Austin that the kids miss him a lot, and that it would be nice if he came to California really soon. Much to her dismay, Austin tells her that someone else has already been hired to run the California branch, and that he can't come back soon. Alice is upset about that, but doesn't say anything. She then reminds him to call their daughters, Isabel and Rosie. Austin agrees to it, and despite the separation, he confesses that he misses her a lot. He says that he made a mistake by letting them go. Alice doesn't say anything and just hangs up. The scene shifts, and we see 3 young boys talking to a man. They're aspiring filmmakers who want to make it big, but right now, they have no money and nowhere to go. They don't even have money to pay their pending rent. The landlord is fed up with their behavior and tries to kick them out. One of the boys, named Harry, tries to persuade the landlord into letting them stay, but the landlord is adamant. It seems that they are in extremely bad condition because of their financial problems. They hope and pray for a big break in their lives, and finally they get their first grand opportunity. The 3 have been called by a famous producer who has taken an interest in their story idea, so they go to meet these potential clients. They go to the meeting, but are shocked to know that a horror movie producer wants to work on their film. The 3 don't know what to do, since their movie is an emotional one that they want to make in a black and white scenario. The mediator tries to get them to work with the producer, Justin Miller, but they aren't sure about it. The three guys, whose names are Harry, George, and Teddy, are told that Justin even wants to help them finish the script for a feature film. George, who happens to be a scriptwriter, thinks it's a bad idea but decides to go with it anyway. Because of the good news, they decided to celebrate that night. They go to a bar and have fun. That's when Alice bumps into Harry. He's instantly attracted to her and can't keep his eyes off of her. Alice is at the bar to celebrate her birthday with her friends. She talks to them about her business and how she wants to be successful now, but her friends aren't really interested in that. They're only focused on getting Alice to date again. They even suggest she hook up with one of their other friends, as she had already separated from Austin. But Alice rejects the whole idea. She doesn't want to be involved with a man so soon. Alice declares that she wants to be independent first and foremost, as well as think about her daughters, and that she isn't ready for all commitments right now. Alice goes to get more drinks, and that's when she notices Harry staring at her. Harry seizes the opportunity to flirt with her and tells her that she is stunning. Alice just smiles, and Harry introduces her to his friends, Teddy and George. Alice is happy to have found some new friends, and eventually, Alice and her friends join the three boys. Together, they have a lot of fun. They all celebrate Alice's birthday and get absolutely wasted. They then begin a dance. Soon enough, Harry and Alice start to get closer and closer. It's now midnight, so Alice takes all of the guys and her friends to her house. Her children and mother are not at home, so she takes this opportunity to hook up with Harry. But midway through, Harry pukes, and Alice feels awkward. The next morning, Alice wakes up to see everyone passed out on her couch. Harry wakes up just then and looks around him. George also wakes up completely hungover and starts looking around the house. He enters a room and sees all of John Kinney's personal belongings. That's when he freaks out, as he's a huge John Kinney fan. Back in the room, Harry sees that his clothes are all cleaned and ironed. He's shocked, but that's when Alice said that she did it. It's too early, so he asks her how she did it. The excuse she gives is that she was already up by 5:30, since her kids had stayed at their grandmother's home. She tells him that she had to pick them up to get the kids ready for school. But suddenly, her kids show up at the doorstep, and the house is still very messy. There are bottles all around, and Alice doesn't want her kids to see them. She tries to hide it all, but her mother, Lillian, sees it anyway. The children run to their mother, and that's when they see a young man. They're surprised to see him, but she immediately comes up with an excuse, claiming that he was just fixing something. Secretly, she blames her mother for not calling. Lillian tries to clean up whatever mess is left as soon as possible. Just as the guys are leaving, they see Lillian and feel as though they've seen her somewhere. That's when George tells them all that she was married to the great John Kinney. Lillian had also been a part of all his movies. She was a very famous actress in John Kinney's movies. The three boys are immensely happy to meet her and confess that John Kinney was among their mentors, so they knew a lot about Lillian as well. All three of them feel really happy to have met Lillian Stewart in person. As she's a really good actress, they started connecting with Lillian right away. When Alice asks George how he knows all about Lillian and John, he admits that he stumbled into a room full of Dad's stuff. He confesses that he's a big fan of his work. On the other hand, Harry is surprised that the woman he spent the night with was none other than the daughter of a film legend. Alice is offended that George managed to snoop around her house, but she doesn't really say anything. All three boys are gobsmacked to know that they're in John Kinney's house. The conversation starts to get awkward, so Alice tries to escort them out of her house, but no one even acknowledges her. Harry and George start praising Lillian, and she gets flustered. Meanwhile, Alice tries to throw all three of them out of her house. Lillian stops her and invites Harry, George, and Teddy to chat with her. She gives them juice and tells them all about her love story with John. Lillian then asks Alice to drop Isabel and Rosie off at school while she makes breakfast for the three boys. Alice is startled to see them get along so well, and just storms out of the house. Harry stops her just then and politely asks for her phone number, but Alice declines, saying he's too young for her, and that he has his whole life ahead of him. She admits that she didn't realize that the other day she was too drunk to even walk, to help them out for a month or less since they needed a place to stay. Alice has an interview soon, so she bids Harry goodbye, and rushes into her car with Isabel and Rosie. The two girls hound her with questions about Harry, but Alice just ignores them all. Finally, she goes to meet her very first client, but the woman just seems to be very indecisive. She tries to mislead Alice, and doesn't even try to work with her. Alice is exhausted by this, but decides to go with it anyway. Eventually, Alice finishes her meeting, and picks her daughters up from school. She sees that the three boys still haven't left. Alice is really irritated, and tries to tell Lillian to get them out, but she doesn't listen. Instead, she asks Alice to help them. Lillian begs Alice to let the three boys stay at her guest house, and tries to persuade her by saying that they could help her out with housework as well. Alice is completely against the idea, but Lillian doesn't back out. She starts gushing about the three, claiming that they're so talented but completely broke. She then starts to emotionally blackmail Alice by saying that if she doesn't let them stay, she could potentially ruin their career. Lillian continues saying that if they ever misbehave, she could just kick them out, and Alice hesitantly accepts it. Alice isn't sure about the idea, but after she she sees her daughter getting along with them so well. She starts to think that maybe this is a good idea after all. She helps them move in and asks them to stay without any disturbance. Alice even tells them that she doesn't want them to act rowdy, but instead, she wants them to live like a family. The three guys readily agree, and Alice walks out. Harry follows her and suggests that they become friends. He proposes to start over since they'll be living together, and Alice agrees to it as well. At home, George still feels uncomfortable because he thinks that Alice doesn't want them there, but Teddy asks him to just relax. It seems that all three boys are attracted to her personality. The two silently rejoice at the prospect of staying in such a lovely location. The next day, Alice finds George looking through John's room. As soon as he sees her, George apologizes, saying that he was just curious. Alice says that she doesn't mind, and shows him the script for all of her dad's work. George excitedly goes through it all, and then asks her why she had planned to move back. That's when Alice tells him that Austin was just too focused on work, and never came home. She confesses that she was just too tired of him coming home late every single night, which is why she eventually decided to leave him. She then goes on to tell George about Austin being in the music industry, which is full of partying. Alice adds that it was fun when they were young, but now they have kids and he hasn't changed. That's the reason why she is staying with her mother now. Just then, she gets a call from her client, who wants her to come to her as soon as possible. Alice panics because she has to take Isabel to her music lessons. George notices her dilemma and offers to take Isabel for her guitar lessons instead. Since he doesn't have a car, Alice asks him to drive her father's old manual car. George agrees to it but doesn't know how to drive it. He somehow manages to take Isabel to school. That's when she tells him that she wants to be a writer and has taken part in a playwriting competition. George is automatically interested, as he's a writer too. He even offers to help her. Just then, he gets a call from his clients, saying they're going to set up a meeting with some new producers, and George is really excited. At work, Alice gets stuck because her client asks her to babysit and runs off. Before Alice can even say anything, her client walks away, saying she'll pay her more. Alice is really irritated but agrees anyway. Right then, she got a call from Austin. As soon as she picks up, he starts complaining about the three strangers she's living with. Alice tries to tell him that they're only there for a few days, and that it was her mother's idea anyway, but Austin doesn't listen to her at all. He tells her that it was Isabel who told him about it, and he also asks Alice not to let the girls around them, because it's weird. Alice gets irritated at that, and asks him to come to them if he's so worried. Austin apologizes to her, and says that he's got a trip coming up, but he'll try to get there as soon as possible. Alice gets annoyed and hangs up. Alice starts panicking because it's really late, but then she finds out that the guys have already made dinner. They take the food outside, and gather around to watch one of John's movies. As a surprise, the boys have also managed to organize a simple home theater, which makes her really happy. The boys have learned all about Alice's personal life from her mother, so they want to make her happy with her father's memories. Looking at all of these, Alice gets emotional, and thanks them all. They all have a lot of fun, and spend the night joking and giggling. After the movie, as she's doing the dishes, Harry comes in to help her. He then compliments her on being so calm and, most of all, for being such a great mom. He starts flirting with her once more, saying that Austin must be crazy to let her get away from him. Alice thinks that's really sweet and smiles. Harry starts to like her a lot, and wants to get close to her. He fixes her cabinets and tells her that she's really cute. Alice blushes, and from there, they get really close and start kissing. Alice starts to blabber all sorts of things, because she's nervous, but Harry just shushes her and tells her that he's ready to do anything for her. They make love once again. When George sees the lights go off at the house, he knows what is going on since Harry hasn't returned. He isn't happy about it. In fact, he's jealous because he has also started liking her. The following day, the three boys go to meet Justin Miller. He starts to make all sorts of comments about the film's production, and George, as the writer, isn't really happy with the changes. Justin wants to modify the script according to his wishes, and he doesn't like it one bit. Harry and Teddy want to continue with Justin, but George doesn't. Somehow, the two boys manage to convince George to give it another shot, and he reluctantly agrees. Finally, they go back home, and on their way back, Harry goes swimming in the ocean. George then tells Teddy about the new gig that he's got. He adds that it pays well, but asks him not to tell Harry about it. Teddy isn't impressed with the plan, but agrees anyway. George tries to convince him by saying that it pays really well, and that it's just his plan B in case Harry messes up with Alice's feelings, and she ends up kicking them out of the house or if they eventually leave. The three return home, and that's when Alice introduces the guys to all her friends. They get along with them really well. Alice is really happy to see this and tells her friend, Tracy, all about their help. She talks about how they've been cooking dinner and helping with her website, which is really awesome. Soon enough, Alice and Harry eventually become inseparable, as they spend every single night together. They make love and start to get romantically attached to one another. They watch movies together, and Alice starts to wonder if their proximity is good or bad, but she soon brushes it off. Both appear to be very happy together. Alice is glad to know that even the kids and her mother are fine with it. One day, as she's going to drop some stuff off at her client's house, Tracy asks her to bring Harry along to her dinner party. Alice agrees, but says that she can't promise anything. She's really hesitant at first, but doesn't think much of it. When she reaches her client's place, she finds out that her client had rehired her previous designer, which means that Alice is now replaced. This pissed her off because she hadn't even been informed about it. Alice rushes back home and complains about it all to Teddy, who tells her that such things happen and she shouldn't stress herself out about it. That's when he shows her that he has fully built her website now, and it's operating smoothly. It's high time that she moves on from such a toxic client. He shows her the newly launched website, which has everything she needs. Alice thanks him profusely, and at that very moment, Harry calls her and gives her amazing news. Justin had managed to get them a financier, whom he was going to meet the following night. Alice is happy, but also confused, as she hadn't expected him to be out that night. She tells him about the dinner party that Tracy has organized, and exclaims that she was hoping to attend it with him. Harry listens to her, and tells her that she doesn't need to worry. He tells her that he'll be back soon, and then they could go together. Harry goes on to tell her, whatever he's going to do with Justin isn't going to take a long time. Alice is really happy to hear that, and calls it a date. The day of Tracy's dinner party comes, and Alice goes there alone. She expects Harry to come as soon as he can, but much to her dismay, Harry doesn't arrive at all. At the meeting, Harry is disappointed, because it's just taking too long. He had fully hoped to go back to meet Alice and Tracy, but it seems impossible now. Somewhere in her heart, Alice still expects Harry to come, but he just doesn't show up at all. This breaks her heart, because it was the same reason she had broken up with her children's father. Alice doesn't want to feel the same pain again. She is really upset and hurt, so she curses herself out for repeating the same mistake again. She doesn't want to keep hoping for a man to treat her right. Alice starts to feel really lonely once more, and goes home. The next morning, Alice is making her bed when Harry walks in. He has just gotten home. Alice is really upset, and doesn't even acknowledge him. Harry apologizes for the previous night, and asks for another chance. Alice is really irritated, because that's what she's been doing her whole life, giving second chances. She tells him that their affair should stop now, because it won't work out. Alice tells Harry that he's just 27, and would surely rather work on his career than help her with the kids. She claims that they have no future, and apologizes for ever leading him on. Harry understands and asks for one last chance, but Alice says she can't, because she's already got a new date. This stuns Harry. On the other hand, Isabel excitedly tells George that her teacher has picked her script for the upcoming school play. George also screams with happiness, and the two celebrate together. That's when Isabel asks him if he could join her during the main event for support. George gladly agrees, and promises to be there for her all the time. The scene shifts to Alice, who's on her date, but the man isn't anywhere like she had expected. She starts to get bored, because he's just ranting about motivation and work. Alice then starts to drink rapidly, and gets drunk really soon. Just then, she sees Zoe, her old client, who had just dumped her out of nowhere. Rage fills her up, and she stands up to confront Zoe. Alice's date tries to stop her, but she just doesn't listen. She marches straight up to Zoe, and starts taunting her for all that she did. Alice then insults Zoe, and walks out of there, only to find out that her date has disappeared. Alice is in no condition to walk, so she calls George, who hurries to her rescue. He sits down right next to her, and asks her about what happened. That's when Alice tells him everything, including the fact that Harry abandoned her. George nods, and tells her that he tends to have that effect on people, and that he isn't one to make good choices. Secretly, he wants Alice to dump Harry and date him instead, because he's also in love with her. Alice then goes on to blame Harry for all this, because if it were not for him, she would be home. George understands, and then says that Harry knew somewhere in his heart that this would happen. He consoles her and tries to take Alice home. George feels really bad for her, because he knows that she is a very nice woman, who gave them shelter when they needed it the most. He tells her that it's okay, and that's when Alice tells him that the difference between men and women is that men just act, while women have to think of the consequences as well. Alice begins to curse Harry for not considering her and how this minor incident would have a significant impact on her. Alice then thanks George for helping her out, and tells him that he's a really nice guy. She was fully drunk, and has no idea what she is doing. She is just depressed because of her messy life, and takes anxiety pills to try to tackle it. George then drives her home, where they find Austin waiting for her. He has rushed to California in hopes of reconciling, as he desperately wants his family back together. George gets awkward after noticing Austin glaring at him, so he just walks away. He says he was worried about his family staying with strangers. Austin continues saying that he's not comfortable, and wants to be there for his daughters, but Alice isn't having it. She requests that he call at least once so that they can prepare. Austin goes on to say that he misses his family a lot and wants to fix everything. Alice doesn't know how to answer, so she just doesn't say anything. On the other hand, the three boys get really worried about Alice. Harry tries to barge in, but George stops him, saying it's Alice's moment and only she has to be the one to decide all this. They're furious that Austin is staying the night, but they can't say anything. Meanwhile, Austin tries to get Alice to agree to getting back together, but she's really confused. Harry keeps texting her, asking to speak with her just once. However, Alice just ignores it all. The following day, as Austin is having coffee, Harry goes to meet him. The two just stare at each other and have an awkward conversation. Harry tries to act as if he's dating Alice, and Austin gets uncomfortable because of it. In the kitchen, Teddy and George together try to convince Alice to kick Austin out of the house. Harry still hasn't stopped begging Alice for a chance. Just then, Lillian and the two girls come in. They're really happy to see their father, but Lillian doesn't seem too impressed. She chats with him for a quick second and leaves instantly. At breakfast, Austin talks to his daughters about his adventures, and they seem to be having fun. Even Alice is more comfortable, which doesn't sit right with Harry. He's extremely jealous and starts to get angry after seeing Austin try to flirt with Alice. Right then, he promises to take the kids out for dinner in the evening. The three boys don't seem too happy with it, so later that day, George goes to ask Alice if she's happy with it, to which Alice replies that she doesn't really know. Teddy comes in just then and says that going out is a bad idea since the girls will get attached to their father again. They don't want Isabel and Rosie to suffer in the middle of all this. Harry also barges in and tries to talk Alice out of the whole situation. Soon, the evening comes, and Austin comes to get Alice. She tells them that she'll be fine and kisses them all on the cheek except for Harry. Austin smirks at that and mocks them before leaving. This makes them all the more protective over Alice and the children, thinking that Austin may hurt them again. They don't want to let them go with him, but they can't do anything to stop it either. The three of them wait for her to get back. Finally, they all return, and Alice tells them that she's fine and that she just needs to rest. She talks about how they had a lot of fun, which angers Harry. Among all this, Harry wants to talk with her, but Alice isn't interested. He profusely apologizes to her for his behavior, but she just doesn't listen to him and just walks back into her room. The next day, Harry barges into the guest house while George is writing his new script. He quickly hides it from Harry, but the secret doesn't last too long. Harry finds an extra script and learns all about George's secret gig. They get into a huge misunderstanding. Harry starts yelling at George for betraying him. But instead, George tells him that it's all his fault anyway because they could get kicked out any minute. He blames Harry for getting too close to Alice and breaking her heart. Harry is shocked to hear all this and accuses George of being in love with Alice. George defends himself by saying that he's not in love with her but rather that he's in love with her personality, ways, and looks. The two get into a huge fight. George starts to talk about how the group needs to get a new job in case they need to move into a new place. They're broke, and more money wouldn't be a bad idea. Just then, Teddy comes in and tells them about his new acting job as well. George is happy, but Harry thinks the two are ganging up against him. He believes that they want him to leave them before they even complete their film project. This enraged him, so he just leaves angrily. Teddy walks out as well, and that's when Austin realizes that they're having a misunderstanding. He goes to Teddy in order to cheer him up, but Teddy is just not in the mood. Austin tries to know more, but Teddy doesn't want to talk about it. Instead, he starts accusing Austin of abandoning his family. He asks Austin to just leave. Things get really heated really soon, and Austin starts to brag about how Alice still loves him. He asks them to get out of his house instead, and Teddy loses it. Teddy punches Austin really badly, and Austin screams out. The two get into a huge fight and start to shout obscenities at one another. George tries to stop them, but that's when Alice comes. Teddy punches Austin once more, and so his nose starts bleeding. Alice and her daughters get really scared because of it. They run to Austin to see if he's okay. Alice gets annoyed at the fight going around the house and asks the three guys to leave. She says that she wants to get her life back on track. She kicks them out of the house, which gets them really emotional. The three then leave without a word, and Alice feels really bad. Alice then runs back to Austin and tends to his wounds. He thinks that he has finally won the battle, but instead, Alice asks him for a divorce. Austin wants to get back together, but seeing that Alice is ready to leave the past behind, he agrees to it. Despite the separation, the two promise to remain friends and take care of their children together. A while later, Teddy and George find Harry and tell him everything. They apologize to him for hiding things and promise to never leave him behind. Harry agrees to it, and the guys finally settle their misunderstanding. At home, Alice goes up to Isabel and Rosie and tells them about the divorce. She tells them that even though Austin will live in California, he won't actually stay in the same house. She also tells them the three boys are gone, which makes the girls really upset. Soon, all of them start adjusting to their new lives. The boys get a simple apartment to finish their script. They're really happy there. Meanwhile, Alice fully focuses on her business and handling her children. She makes sure Isabel is ready for her play and motivates her all the way through. Days pass by, and Alice starts missing the three guys. She goes to meet them one day, and Harry is elated. He tells her that he wanted to meet her but couldn't because of Austin. That's when she tells him that she and Austin are finally done. Harry is relieved to hear that, and goes on to apologize to Alice for standing her up. Alice forgives him, and tells him that he has taught her really valuable lessons in life. And finally, she tells him that she really misses all three of them. They hug, and just then, George and Teddy come in. They hug her tightly as well. They confess that they've really missed her and ask about the girls. Alice tells them all about it, and they all spend a lot of time chatting. Isabel's play is starting really soon, and everyone is excited. Meanwhile, the three boys go to a very important business meeting with Justin. They wait for a long time, but the meeting doesn't start. George remembers that it is Isabel's play day and starts to get anxious because he wants to attend it just like he had promised. Alice is also waiting for them, but starts to feel as though they won't come. Lillian tells them that they will, and so Alice just clings onto that. At the meeting, the main producer starts to criticize every single detail about the script and asks them to change it. This pisses Harry off, and he just gets up to leave, saying they won't change a thing about their script. They run out of there and find a car in front of them. George and Teddy are really happy, and they applaud Harry for being so confident. The three drive out as soon as possible and reach the school. They push through the main door, and George runs backstage to support Isabel. Alice gets really excited after seeing them, and thanks them for being there. Meanwhile, George tries to find ways to get to Isabel before her recital starts. Isabel gets on stage, and it's evident that she's really scared. She starts stuttering and looking around for George. Just then, George gets backstage and starts to call out to Isabel. The little girl looks at him and suddenly gains confidence. She walks up to the middle and starts performing excellently. Alice, Lillian, Austin, and the boys are really proud of her. The play goes really well, and all of them go back home as a family. At dinner, all of them praise Isabel for being so talented and have a great time together. Even Austin starts to get along with the three, and they all laugh and cheer for each other, which makes Alice really happy and emotional. The movie ends with them spending the rest of their life as a closely knit family.